So now let me teach you how to do the storage. So I'm just going to start clean again, and I'm just going to create a new project in our Firebase console, and let's just call it storage app. And let's click continue. Now, if you look at the build, you can see there is the storage tab. So let's click on this. And we can click get started. Let's click next. And you can choose what region you want to store the data. I'm just going to leave it in the US Central and click done. Now, if you look at the rules tab, we need to make sure to change this to true so that we can write information and store our data into our database. So let's just click that. And I've opened up a brand new Flutter project just to make sure you're on the same page as me. In my main function, I'm returning my homepage, and this is just a blank scaffold. And what I'm going to do here is open up your terminal, and let's just start by connecting this Flutter project to your Firebase console. So let's click Firebase login, and you should already be logged in. And then I'm going to say Flutter pub global activate Flutter Fire CLI. And it looks like we just get this little error on Mac, so I'm just going to copy and paste this in. Awesome. Now Flutter Fire configure, and this should fetch all of the available Firebase projects. So let's find the one that we just created, storage app. And for this, I'm just going to do iOS and Android only. Sweet, so it looks like it's done, and you can see that there's that Firebase options file that just got generated. Now in the terminal, let's add in a couple packages that we need. So Flutter pub add Firebase core. We always need this one. And also Flutter pub add Firebase storage. In the main function, we have to say widgets flutter binding ensure initialized. And I'm going to change this main function into an async so that we can await Firebase. And let's just import this initialize app. Cool, so let's just run this app on my simulator just to make sure everything's working fine. So it ran successfully, and we just have a blank app. So now I'm going to create a new folder called services. And in this folder, we're going to create another folder called storage. And so in this storage folder, let's create our file called storage service.dart. So for the class storage service, I'm going to make sure to say with change notifier. Let's open up our terminal to import a package. So for the state management, I'm just going to use provider. So Flutter pub add provider. And we also need a image picker to select the image. So this is going to be another package that's really popular. It's just called Flutter pub add and then image picker. Cool, so once you've done that, let's close the terminal and let's fill out this class. So the first thing we need to do is we're just going to get the Firebase storage. And then just for a quick note, images are stored in Firebase as download URLs. A couple things we need to keep track of is the loading status as well as the uploading status. And we're going to have some getters. And for the methods, we need to be able to read images and delete as well as upload images. So this is the overall plan, and I'll explain each one as we go along. So starting at the top, we're just going to get an instance of the Firebase storage. So this will be access to our database. And the images are stored in Firebase as download URLs. So what that means is we're just going to have a list of strings called image URLs. And we're just going to have a couple of booleans. So true or false values for if it's loading and if it's uploading. So initially these should be false. And let's just create a couple of getters. And then now for filling out these methods. So starting with the read images, I'm just going to create a feature here called fetch images. Now we're going to start loading as soon as we fetch the images. So let's change this to true. And we're going to get the list under the directory uploaded images. So this is where we're saving it in our Firebase storage. And then we need to get the download URLs for each image. Cool, and then let's update the URLs and just finish up the loading, and we're going to notify the listeners to update the UI. Sweet, so that's how you fetch images. Now let's fill out these next two methods. For deleting, it's important to note that images are stored as download URLs. So again, what that means is, for example, it's going to be some sort of link like this. And it's going to be stored in something .. slash uploaded images and then the image name. And so what we want to do is we are interested in this part here, the uploaded images and the image name. So the folder as well as the file it's stored in. So in order to delete, we need to know only the path of this image store in Firebase. So we need to try to just extract this part of the link. Okay, so let's delete the image. So let's accept a parameter. So as long as we know the image URL, what we're going to do is let's try to remove it from our local list first. And then let's get the path name and let's delete it from Firebase. So for this, extract path from URL is a method that I want to create here on the side just to help us out. And so what this is going to do, it's going to accept a URL link. And we're just going to do a nice bit of cool code to extract this part. So we're trying to extract the part of the URL that we need. Cool, so we can now use this method. And then we can await Firebase storage. So we'll give it the path and then we can delete it. So let's try this block of code, and then if we have any errors, let's catch this error. Cool, and at the very end, we want to notify the listeners to update the UI. Sweet, and the very last thing is we just want a method to upload an image. So let's start the upload. And then let's pick an image. So this is going to be our image picker, and we're going to go to the gallery of the phone. So firstly, if image is equal to null, then let's just return this method. And what this means is the user canceled the picker, so we're just going to exit out of this. And if not, we can continue down this line of code, and let's get the file's image path. And so remember, this bit of text here is where we're storing in our Firebase, so that uploaded underscore images path. And for the name of the file that we're uploading, for now, I'm just going to put the date of now, like the time of right now, as the name. So you can obviously change this to whatever name you want for the image. So this will be a little bit more clear when I show you on the Firebase console, but let's just fill out the remainder of this code. The next thing we need to do is upload the file to Firebase storage. So this is the main thing. So let's go to our Firebase storage. We're going to reference the file path, and then we can say put file and then upload this file. Cool. And then after uploading, let's fetch the download URL. And let's update the image URLs list and UI. So we're just going to put it in our local image URLs list. And let's handle any errors. And finally, let's make sure the loading is done, and we're just going to update the UI. Okay, now for the image picker, we need to do a little bit of native code just to make sure we are allowed to get this permission. So if you go to the iOS and go to runner, you can see the info.plist file. And at the top here, I just want you to add this little bit of code. So NS photo library usage description, and as well as NS camera usage description. So this gives us access to the camera and the photo library. So save that. And for Android, you actually don't need any setting up. So that's cool. Sweet. So we did all the database logic for the backend. Now let's just fill out the front end and make this app more visually compelling. So in our homepage, it's just a blank scaffold, like I said. And let's just start with an initial state. So when we first open this app, we're going to run this fetch images method. And so what this is going to do is we're going to access our provider, and we can now access our storage service class. And we want to run that method fetch images. So that is this method here. In our build method, let's return a consumer of the storage service. And what we're going to do is return this scaffold, of course. But then at the top, I just want to get the list of image URLs. So if you go to this storage service, you can access those image URLs from the getter we created earlier. And now in our scaffold, let's create a floating action button. And when we press this button, I want to access the upload image method. So that's this one here. And I'm just going to put in a nice simple add icon. So it should be like a plus sign. And then finally in our body, we're going to use a list view builder to display all of the images. So let's get each individual image first by going through the image URLs. We're just going to go through all of the index. And then finally, we're just going to return the image UI. And make sure we have to specify the item count. So just however many images we have. Cool, and it looks like we get this kind of error, and whoops, that's because we had this provider we brought in, but we need to go to the main file here. And just before we run my app, we need to wrap my app in a change notifier provider. So you can see on this create tab, we want to give it our storage service class. And then now we can wrap it in my app. Cool. Sweet, let's save this and I'm just going to run this again, and you can see there's our floating action button. Now I'm going to click this, and I'm actually going to, because we brought in a lot of new packages, I'm actually just going to kill the app and restart it. And I just opened the app again, and it looks like you can see it's going to ask for permission. So storage app would like to access your photos. Let's say allow access to all photos, and you can see I'm going to upload an image. So I clicked an image and maybe it's getting uploaded in the background. Let's have a look. If I come back to my Firebase console, you can see in our uploaded _images folder, there's our image that just got uploaded. And remember, the name of the image was just the date time. So there's our image being saved in our database. Sick. And so if I come back to my app, you can see it looks like my homepage is actually displaying the image. So the fetch images is working well. Cool, so let's try this again. If I click on the plus button and I can select an image, and I think it's taking a bit of time to upload, and let's just wait and see if it's going to show up. Okay, so it does show up, which means the code is working. Now, this is why we had some of those loading booleans, because it might be a good idea to show some loading circles or something. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a component, and this is where I like to just have different UI components. I'm going to create a new file called imagepost.dart. So for each image post, I just need to know the image URL. And we're going to just start with wrapping everything in our consumer. And let's just decorate this up a bit. And in the child, I'm going to have a column so that at the top, we can have a bit of a delete button. And I actually want to change this from delete images to delete image is more accurate. And then in the image post, we can give it the image. So if I come back to my UI, let's get rid of this and start typing image post. There it is. Let's import that. And you can see currently we have that delete button on the top. And so if I just put this at the end, if I click on this, we should delete the image. And there it is. It just disappeared. Now in this image, I want to just make sure for the fit, let's make it just fit the width. And I'm going to have a loading situation. So we can use a loading builder, which means if it's loading, then I'm going to just return a circular progress indicator. And just to add it and make it a little bit nicer, I'm going to do this bit of code. So you can just copy this part. It's just a little bit of math to show the progress of the loading circle. So if it's done loading, then let's just return our child, which is the image. Cool, so if I just restart this, you can see it's fetching the images from the network, and you can see that loading circle. That's a nice little touch, and I'm just going to test this. Let's add in a new image, and it's taking a while, and it's eventually showing up. And just to let the user know that it's uploading, when that's got that time of uploading, in the app bar, I'm just going to create a text widget and say storage service. And if it's uploading, then let's say uploading. Okay, otherwise just display nothing. So let's just try this again. If I click on another image to upload, you can see at the top it says, okay, uploading. And then once it's done, there it is. Cool, so this is the basics on how to store images in Firebase. And just with this knowledge, I feel like we could make a nice social media app, or really any type of app, including storing images. So I want to make this app and make it a little bit better. Later in the course, we'll make a full social media type app.